Well, we've gotten to the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Raised by Wolves, Season 2, the HBO Max show, brought to you by Ridley Scott.
Thank you for the sponsorship announcement.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott somewhere is like, trading on my name.
So yeah, I mean, we have episodes 7 and 8 more specifically to talk about. And then kind of the whole thing. I didn't take a lot of notes for these 2 episodes.
Me neither.
But because I feel like, I don't know.
I feel like a lot happened, but a lot didn't happen.
Right. Yes.
It's so hard to describe. Like, things moved forward, but yet at the same time, it wasn't just like my normal stream of consciousness. Like, every little thing was like, whoa, that happened. Whoa. Yeah. So, sorry, I sounded a little Keanu Reeves dude bro there, but, sometimes that's how I feel watching. And I didn't at this season finale.
Okay. Well, episode 7, so we have the sad news that, Sue, she's unfortunately fallen along with Soul's plans. And I think I asked this before. Do you say Soul or Saul?
Soul.
Soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like son, Soul.
Sometimes they do say it though.
Yeah,
like
they
kind
say
of Saul.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Soul. Okay.
But Soul, that's what I think of.
She is now a tree, which is kind of beautiful in a way, but also very sad. And
oh boy, watching that hologram reenactment that father shows. Yikes.
Yeah.
There was nothing beautiful about that.
No.
I have to say.
No. Hey, nature is violent.
I have encountered a series before where someone has become a tree, and I do have to say it was a lot more beautiful than this, literal wrenching of the body into a tree.
What movie is that? Is like Eternal Sunshine? No, not. We did talk about it. What's the Tim Burton movie, or what's the one that?
Oh, so I'm not thinking of a movie. I'm thinking of a TV show.
Oh.
It's the Shannara Chronicles, which is a terrible show. Please do not watch it. The books are amazing though. And in the particular book that I'm thinking of, I won't say the book, I won't even say the character, but one of the main characters in this book becomes a tree, and it's really like beautiful and this great sacrifice, and it's definitely nothing like here, Raised by Wolves, which I very much expect from this series, that it's brutal and violent and not anything that's just happy and natural. But yeah, this was particularly sick, I thought.
They spared us from having to see it happen to Sue anyways.
Yes, they did have like a very kind of generic.
Well, it's from the data card, right? So is this this is like of a ritual gone by? Because it has like cloak figures around it. It's like like it was a historical recording.
Right, or if this was exactly what happened to Sue, and there were kind of maybe figures that we didn't see there, because we didn't actually see her become a tree.
No.
I mean, we saw the beginnings of the kind of wrenching of her body, and we understood. We were led to understand what was happening, and then we saw her as the tree. So unclear whether this was like a historical record and a simulation of the ritual, or an exact simulation of what happened to Sue. Either way, pretty grotesque.
Well, go forward and be fruitful, and indeed she was. She produced a lot of brain fruit.
Gross.
So
gross.
Oh no! I was like, "What's happening to Andrea?" She's,
I'm becoming a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. That was pretty sick. I won't lie. I watched that scene.
So you wouldn't eat the brain fruit?
I would not. No, it looks like brains. Like I can't get behind anything that looks like brains. Like I was watching
Okay.
these people, and it was just like a weird stand-in for a zombie movie. I was just, I mean, I know the culture is different, but haven't y'all ever seen a zombie movie? Like, this feels like
Sure.
that right now, especially the way
Okay.
the people were like furtively hoarding the fruit when Mother came along and was like, don't eat that. And they were still like trying to scoop it up and run away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we did have some pretty chaotic, crazy moments in this. So, people are eating the brain fruit. Then we have the snake, the serpent, the seventh,
Mm-hmm.
that it recognizes that this tree is alive and the fruit is there, and it's freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Apes takes the fruit and then swallows the whole tree, and the tree is like accepting of it. The tree like forms to be easily
Yeah.
consumed.
Digested. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you thought,
Sparking the evolution.
yeah. Yeah. That was a whole crazy sequence of events. I started out, feeling very sad because, of course, the serpent is trying to escape and it's like hitting itself against the gate and
Yeah.
hurting itself. And I felt bad for it. You know, not that I particularly care about the serpent as a character, but you just kind of see a
Yeah.
creature hurting itself and you feel bad. And then
Yeah.
suddenly, it's just going after Tree Sue and eating her
Mhm.
up. And you're like, well, what's going to happen now? And then it sprouts like tentacle like roots
Yep.
and becomes electromagnetically charged.
Yeah.
Um, I
It's like
think,
taking some of the powers of the, like, mother
yeah, it was
the mother.
unclear, yeah, how much of that was its own, and then how much of it was like absorbed from Mother's normally powerful scream.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was just kind of a crazy sequence of events where it just like mutated very rapidly and became quite a danger.
Well, so help me make sense of this.
Yeah, please.
We're previously when we spoke, I think we were talking about how the different halves here. So, like servants of soul, the Mithraic,
Mhm.
and then the atheists, how we're kind of on the separate sides. And so we kind of have like the devolved humans slash sea
Yes.
creatures that
Yes.
seemed like that it was with the atheists,
Yes.
and then the serpent as being, I viewed the serpent as I'm getting mixed up whose enemies were what. And I thought when I was watching it, it seemed backwards because the serpent now is like taking, it seems like it's part,
Sort
at
of
first I thought it's going to,
Mithraic.
yeah, at first I'm like, okay, it's going to destroy the tree because
Right.
it senses the fruit and the Mithraic
Right.
intentions here kind of thing. It's going to erase that. But instead it's like, no, the tree was meant to be based on the Mithraic stuff. And then the serpent is part of that to consume
Right.
the tree, to become
So it is
powerful,
the
to
sword
destroy the
and the
planet.
tree. Yeah.
Right. But
Right. There's that
the
whole
serpent
like
is the baby of an
mother.
android
Right.
atheist who this creator was atheist. So why would that be playing part of the
Mhm.
Mithraic ends?
Yeah, so what I really feel like it boils down to is we now have like a third character which they mention a bunch in these couple of episodes and really haven't before, but it's the entity.
Right.
No idea who or
Yes.
what that is, where that falls. But they were talking a lot about how the entity will now be able to reach the atheists through a broadcast signal because the serpent has disrupted that signal with its like electromagnetic energy. So I don't really know what the deal is with the entity, but it seems to be somehow both furthering and destroying at the same time the goals of the Mithraic and the atheists. So like
Yeah.
it helped fulfill the prophecy where like the serpent, because it like broadcast a signal to Mother who birthed the serpent, so somehow that sort of furthered like the prophecies of Soul, who were talking about like the sword and the
Oh,
tree.
that's right. It wasn't the original Campion. That was the trick. It wasn't the original
Right.
Campion's plan to have
Right.
this happen.
It was
It
just some
was
sort
the
of weird
entity
signal, yeah,
that
that Mother
tricked her.
got because she wasn't in the
Yes.
tropic zone, which is like protected from the signal.
Yep. Yes.
So, yeah, so I'm not really sure what's going on there with the entity. Like they mentioned it a lot, and I had to sort of like take a break and sift through my memories to be like, what is the entity? Have we referenced this before? What capacity? So, yeah, so it's been playing like both sides for a goal that now I feel like I have no idea what this is and I'm totally in the dark on. Um Not particularly loving the way this is introduced now again, kind of at the end of a season where we're just like, and this other thing is here too. Um
Well, I don't
but
think that's I don't see, I
a
don't think that's true.
little
So I
it's a little
go
bit
ahead.
more realistic for me than like Serpent Baby being born last season was.
Sure, yeah.
But I just feel like, yeah, we're doing the thing again where we're kind of like throwing another being, another entity in at the end of a season, um, without a lot of explanation.
Well, talking about this now, I feel like it's becoming clear, actually. So I
Good.
so with the so Mother was playing into Soul's plans. The entity is Soul because the entity is the source of the signal, and Soul is what's getting the signal
Well,
into people's minds.
right. Well, it's soul in that we don't know that it's soul yet. Do you know
Well,
what
I
I mean?
mean,
Like
but
it's not like direct. The show hasn't directly equated the two. They've talked about the entity, and Grandmother has talked about like the entity.
mhm.
So
Well,
it
because they
certainly
don't believe in
seems
soul. There's a mythology that a religion created
right.
around the entity
But
that
like
they've named soul.
right, I was just gonna say they've named it souls, but it really could be
Yeah.
anything in actuality.
Yeah.
Like I could
Right.
call, anything that I hear a name, and it doesn't mean that's, a name.
Right.
It just means like that's the name I've given it. So the entity to the Mithraic is soul, to us, the neutral viewer, we don't know what the entity is yet. But yes, it is
I
the
mean
stand-in for soul
I mean,
in
and in kind
these
of
episodes.
in a pun almost, or it's like it's a difference between someone that's religious and not. Like you may call God God,
Yeah.
but different religions will call God a different thing. And though God may exist, it's it's you've created what you think God is, and you've
Right.
chosen to name it God.
Right.
That
It may
might
not be
be
what it actually is.
right.
Yep.
The
Mhm.
creator of, maybe is a thing, but it's not the Christian or Muslim God that you're making it to be.
Mhm.
And so this that with the atheists not, understanding there is a signal and it does have a source, but
Right.
all the like worship of it and making it a higher powered being or, something like
Right.
that is not factual. So it's
Right.
the
That's foreign
entity
to them.
and others
Mhm.
don't understand. So it's soul.
Yep.
But did then the question is, did the entity like instruct to have this religion formed around itself, or does it literally exist and an ancient civilization has formed all this themselves?
Right.
The symbol, the shapes, the temples, all that stuff. Do they just
Mhm.
like we're hearing a voice, so we take instruction or something? How
Right.
intricate is that?
Yeah, no, it's certainly a good question of like whether the Mithraic religion was formed around, what they thought the entity was, or did they already have this religion, come here, feel like this sort of fits, and just like ascribe their already
Right.
created
Right.
religion to what's happened. You know what I mean? Like, so which
Yeah.
came
And
first,
then
like chicken or
alter
egg
it
kind of
based
thing?
on yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, certainly interesting. Certainly something I think, should there be a season 3? I don't know at this point if there's going to be. Seems like it, but
In the
can't say for
bonus
certain.
content, they reference season 3,
Oh, they
so
do. Okay. I did not get to watch that. But yeah, so it certainly seems like something in season 3 they're going to have to address given the number of times in these last 2 episodes somebody referenced the entity.
mhm. So to me, the only real question is, um, why does the entity slash soul wants to destroy the planet?
And are we
Because that
sure
seems
that's the goal? Where are you getting destroy the planet?
someone I am forgetting who said it said that the serpent was meant to destroy the planet.
Interesting.
Um, I can't remember who said that, but
Okay.
so it would be, you know, is the goal of soul then to like extinguish humans from the planet, perhaps? Like humans are the enemy.
Mhm.
And the only way then, that humans have managed to survive have been like to be
Android protectors?
de-evolved
Right.
and live in the
That's
ocean.
that's certainly the way that grandmother thinks of it. You know,
Mhm.
based on what I can gather from these couple of episodes, like her goal is to ensure human survival by whatever means necessary, but her definition of human is very loose.
Yep.
Um, if we obviously think of what we as viewers think of as human, I think these devolved creatures we would not consider human, but grandmother does. And she thinks she's, you know, ensuring the continuation of the human species.
Yep.
So I think it's another great way in which this show brings up the question of what it means to be human. Um,
Mhm.
I think a lot of the show up to this point has been positing it against, what it means to be an android. And now we're kind of getting
Right.
to the other end of the spectrum of like, at what point in evolution do you consider yourself a human?
Yep. It's kind of it's really interesting looking back because when they got to the planet, it was pretty much desolate. There's
Hmm.
life didn't grow in a lot of places, all this stuff.
Certainly changed.
Yeah, chemical acidic water and stuff on the other side, but there was all these relics, old temples,
Hmm.
and then what we now know as de-evolved humans.
Hmm.
Um, So it seems to me that the entity, I'm assuming what people are calling Saul, the source of
Hmm.
the signal,
Yep.
succeeded in its goal of ridding the planet of humans, getting rid of humans. The exception being the devolved humans, which are living in the ocean and like they're basically
Sure.
like little scavengers away. Like everything else is decimated. The androids that were there, it's all
Mm.
done. It's like they want the planet, the signal wants the planet to just be free of inhabitants, free of
Mhm.
intelligent life or something like that. Like we want
Mhm.
pure nature or something,
Sure.
whatever its goals are, I don't know, but it succeeded. Then when humans came to this planet again, all of a sudden, hey, we have to do this over because humans are here again now. We can't
Mhm.
have that. So
Mhm.
we hatched the plan to get rid of them. And so they trick mother into being impregnated and they go through the whole thing of like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, so they can play all their pieces, tell the right people at the right times, tell
Sure.
Marcus to not kill Mother because she's needed for it, lead
Sure.
people to the seed, all this stuff so you can start the process of
Mhm.
wiping out humans on the planet again.
So I feel like that tracks, except for I feel like this may have happened before, but the process before it could be fully completed was interrupted. And that's why grandmother was found in the condition that she was by father, like disassembled and buried, because she's clearly in on whatever this plan is to like devolve all the humans. You know
Right,
what I
but
mean?
that's a means of
But
survival against the attack from the entity.
right, and I totally am there with you. I just think she maybe was like influenced by the signal, was influenced by something else. Maybe we'll get that, exact backstory in season 3. But I feel like whatever process was begun wasn't quite completed, because it would explain why there was maybe at least one, maybe two um humans alive enough to take down grandmother and start this colony that's in the tropic zone, that is then created like the barrier signal where the entity can't get in. Because I feel like there's
Sure.
got to be some explanation for how they got there, and maybe there's something to do with like the trust was able to save like one or two key humans from the de-evolution process, and was able to like shut down grandmother so she couldn't complete that goal, and that's how like the atheist colony was formed, and like the tarantula was built. Because there's got to be they've clearly been there for a little bit anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I have a hard time believing that they were there like on the same mission or at the exact same time frame as mother and father. They seem a
sure.
little bit more established. So I don't know if that's going to be something that's maybe again explained in season 3, how that exactly works, but that's my instinct for how that works. I think you're correct. In like, or the theory is a plausible one. I just kind of feel like there's got to be some explanation for why grandmother was shut down.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, how did that come to be? What I imagine is that, um, it's happened a millennia ago or whatever, very long
Mhm.
ago. So before any of these people, way before any of these people have showed up,
Sure.
and that in the attempt for the entity to eradicate intelligent life from the planet,
Mhm.
grandmother realizing this, going with the only possible means of survival here is
Mhm.
to make humans devolve. Once she does that, then she's no longer needed. So she doesn't even need to necessarily be taken out or destroyed or
I
anything.
see.
Like after a millennia, she has no purpose anymore. She could just
Mm.
turn off and then let the sands of time wash away, wash over.
Mm.
And so the planet's basically then at a
Perhaps, yeah.
stasis. I can
Sure.
see this kind of becoming some sort of like allegory for like the like maybe it's a climate thing or a natural ecological thing or something like
Mhm.
that, where now
Sure,
all
sure.
humans are reduced to basically animals, and they're not going to create, they're not going to do anything other
Mhm.
than live instinctually as an animal essentially.
Sure.
And then the planet that is governed by the entity is just exists as well. So it's
Mhm.
this like stasis that's held. And
Sure,
so
that's
mother having
plausible.
grandmother having seen this, and gone through it in a way, you'd want her to be more upfront about it, but knowing that the others that have not gone through this aren't necessarily going to come to the same conclusion she has, then
Mhm.
therefore hides it. But
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, kind of once you explain that, I could see that being the case as well. It just begs the question, how long has this atheist colony in the tropic zone been there? Is it
mhm.
something that's more recently established? We're certainly introduced to it as if it's been longer, but that's not, necessarily the case.
I mean, if we think about the ship, the Ark coming in with the
Mhm.
Mithraic, and then it's interesting everyone's landing on this planet. Uh,
Mhm.
again, we talked before, must be the habitable one, or
Yeah.
the one within reach. But and then you have mother and father clearly not there very long.
Mhm.
It could be anywhere from the atheists were there, you know, 2 years to
Mhm.
50 years,
Yep.
and it wouldn't necessarily matter, you
Mhm.
know. But now they have all these other people coming in on the other side of the planet. going in like outside the protection,
Mhm.
and then to make all this happen so then it can target the people within that zone, because it was posited that the tree is the means to pro- produce the signal within the like tropical zone. Because
Mhm.
if the signal's coming from underground and the roots digging in the ground,
Right.
this is now a source for the signal to disperse. It doesn't have to come in from,
Mhm.
you know, the
Yeah,
upper
and
atmosphere or
we
something.
we never really get an answer to that question, specifically regarding the tree. Of course, we have
Hmm.
in the first part of the episode 7, we have Paul coming in, having brought everybody the brain fruit. And he goes back to Marcus and he's like, now they're all going to become believers, right? So he clearly thinks like the
Yeah.
way to get this signal out there is through the fruit, and there's never really a pause enough in the action to determine whether or not that's true.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
It
Like, we
seems
see the
like,
people
yeah.
eat the fruit, but like it seems not to have any effect. But do we really know that? Because so much of the action of these two episodes is spent elsewhere after we
Mhm.
see the
I
fruit.
I think it was a fake. I think it was a fake out. I thought that for sure, yeah, the brain fruit's going to do
I
something.
know,
That's
I know.
part of the plan, and then it wasn't part of the plan at all. It was part of, we need the energy for the means for the serpent that we had born of
Right,
mother to consume and evolve to become
right. The fruit
powerful
was
enough
like,
to wipe out the humans and stuff. Just because like
yeah,
it
the
was
fruit was
eating
like a
pumpkins
signal to the
before, it's
serpent.
needing food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Um, we should talk some too about
Hmm.
so obviously Tempest. That's a crazy scene and emotional and stuff like that. We have where the Viral the android comes back with a creepy ass mask to try to earn trust back and guide them to where the baby is.
Man,
We have this whole moment. Um,
that man, that was really frustrating for me because I feel like the show is going through a lot of back and forth with Tempest with regard to her baby. Like
sure.
when she was pregnant, she was very adamant that, she really didn't want her baby, and I was, like, sure, I understand logically how you would feel. Mother seems to think once you see the baby, you would change your mind. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, we have to wait and see. And then she has the baby, does change her mind, and feels like really attached and like, oh, this is my baby, and is just like absolutely wrenched and gutted when, one of these de-evolved humans, as we now know, comes from the sea to take it away from her, and is immediately like, we have to find my baby, this is really important. And then suddenly we get to the cave where we find her baby being cared for and nurtured, and she's like, oh, just kidding, like, I'm not, it's mom, like this other being is clearly more cut out to be a mom. And I was like, wow, this is a lot of 180s on not a lot of emotional groundwork. You know what I mean? The flip-flops didn't really feel natural to me.
Okay.
It was really hard for me to follow, like, I don't want my baby, I really want my baby. I don't want my baby, this other being can take care of my baby.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly get that. I kind of chalked it up to it being just an incredibly emotionally complex situation, and like not knowing how you're going to react, what you should do, what you want
Mhm.
to do. And yeah, I don't know how um I don't
I
know how
mean,
authentic it ended up coming away or not. But it's one of those things like you have that moment, and a moment of euphoria and like, look at this thing that I created and stuff. And then the trauma of it being taken away
mhm.
with the bit of time separation and then seeing it being cared for. Do you like revert to, well, I was trying to give it away anyways,
Mhm.
it seems like it's in better hands. Like, is there a high that's you're now down from in a way
Mhm.
that, when you're taking an opportunity to escape this?
Right. I mean, speaking from my own very limited experiences, of the new mothers club and the highs and lows and the emotions that you run through, or that I certainly ran through. I don't think there's anything disingenuous with portraying a new mom having very different emotions and very different reactions to things, and having those moments of like, am I fit to be a mother? Is if it would it be best if somebody else took care of my baby? That Because there's moments that, of course, that you doubt yourself and you're like, what am I even doing? Like, God,
Right.
there's got to be better people, at this than me. Um, but I think there's something about watching it play out in so little time on screen
Sure.
that it's really difficult to feel that you followed Tempest's journey in that way. At
Sure.
least for me, kind of right up until we got into that cave and she changed her mind, there was some, focus on her and focus on her emotions, and there was a little bit of buildup. But she was so determined during the hunt to go find her baby, and she was so, like,
Yeah.
distraught, that it was really hard to watch that 180 happen in the matter of mere seconds,
Yep.
and not really feel there was just quite enough time for her to run through that gambit of, self-doubt.
Yeah. Right. Because even if you ultimately didn't want to care for it, would you be comfortable and leaving it in the hands of this
Right.
creature?
Well, and she
Um,
does bring up, again, in that moment, I look at my baby and I do see, my attacker. And it was like,
mm,
wow, that was, I thought we were past that. I mean, if you have doubts and you have misgivings about being a mom, like, I'm still there with you, but it was just such like a wow, I thought we were beyond that moment, and it was an odd thing to say, I think, in the heat of the moment.
sure. Yeah, and I don't feel like they made it very clear that, she obviously must have, but I don't remember
Mhm.
her having seen her attacker.
Right.
We see him most of the time in the helmet and stuff,
Right.
and then she was raped in stasis,
Right.
so not conscious, really. Like having in a simulation yet, whatever in mind,
Right.
but um, but it must have been the case. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Talking about it, I do agree that it seems like they had an outcome they wanted to
Mhm.
happen, and how are we going to get there? And maybe
Mhm.
it didn't feel as natural because you're right. Like you say, she was like, we got to find the baby. We got to find my baby, and
Mhm.
then you find the baby and no, that is
Yeah.
that is an odd reaction, that especially in the arms of what would look like a creature,
Right.
So,
Right, they haven't
um,
they haven't, come to the realization of, like, these creatures are simply devolved humans, and,
right.
we know their origin. We have no idea. She's
Yep.
basing all of this she's basing this huge decision on a very momentary, like, "Look, this creature can feed my baby."
Yep.
Great. Like, many
Yeah.
many things can do that. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
that they are caregivers.
Right. Nor that it's the proper nutritional mix exactly.
Right, right.
Um,
As we find
y
out, it's, you know,
right.
alteration. Is that good or
Mhm.
bad?
So, let's see. Connecting this into
Mhm.
Soul again.
Yeah. Mhm.
Soul was the one that demanded that she be raped, that this guy be fruitful.
Mhm.
So, um, what's the purpose there?
Yeah.
Why have this child?
Yeah,
What's the
it seems significant, in the I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 now, I think it was 6, when the baby was born, that the creature could touch the baby and the baby was fine, you
Yes.
know? It seems significant that, while it was taking the baby from Tempest, she was still burning, from the acid water
Mhm.
and the baby seemed fine. So, I don't know if there's still something there yet to be explored. Um, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
It felt both like significant that, the baby was okay, but then also that this creature seemed called to Tempest to take
Yeah.
the baby. That didn't seem very
Right.
random because I mean, like why would the creatures really care?
Yeah.
Um,
S so
yeah.
if if the way I'm imagining it, why have it kind of blows a hole in my theory a little bit. Why would Soul
Mhm.
have any human
Born.
wants to be made and brought to the planet and stuff like that?
Mhm.
Except for as if it had another, but if it already has more humans that it can
Mhm.
communicate with and have do their bidding, why a child? And then if there
Mhm.
is a going to the baby, Soul wouldn't be commanding, and I don't think probably is able to command the sea creatures because of their devolved state to go for the
Right.
baby. So that
Right.
if the baby thing is more of an instinctual thing to care for a
Mhm.
child,
Mhm.
hears it crying and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just don't know the point of having the kid then with
Right.
my posited
Yeah. Yeah, nothing springs to mind immediately unless there's,
yeah.
some way in which the entity feels that this baby could be a link between, you know, the atheists that exist currently and the way to like kind of get them to devolve.
Yeah.
Or if this baby might be a new steward, if the entity's not feeling that grandmother is going to be up to the task anymore. If this baby is somehow going to be like a natural born steward of devolved humans. I mean, there's certainly plenty of speculation we could do about why.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I'm hoping that in season 3 we get some real actual introduction to what this entity is and some backstory here
Mm.
because there's been a lot of behind the scenes work that I think has been okay to play out behind the scenes so far in these 2 seasons, but going forward we're going to need something.
Yeah, when I see grandmother as a steward in the sense that again for humans, but directly opposed to the entity. So the and to in my worldview of this thing, the entity wants nothing to do with grandmother,
Mm,
and, and the escape for the humans in grandmother's eyes from the wrath of the entity
mhm, is
is de-evolution.
yeah.
But I
Mm,
do agree that yeah, it seemed a quick jump for Tempest, and maybe that needed to
mhm,
be reworked if that's the result that needed to happen
mhm,
for larger pieces to work out. I don't know
mhm,
what that would be. How do you have that come to? I mean, I guess it's less dramatic. So if she has the child and then you know gives it away right away and like sticks to that, and the others
mhm.
try to raise it or something like that, um, because
Yeah,
that's what
it's
seems like it's gonna happen right now.
well, it does, but it doesn't because, when we get to the end of the episode, well, not the quite the end of episode 8, but like towards the end, where Mother is, um, surveying father and the children at work. Tempest seems to be wearing the baby on her back in like a sling.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay.
Yeah, that was the only thing I could think of what that was for. And she's been holding the baby in other scenes. They haven't really focused on her relationship with the baby, kind of once they figure out that, the milk of the devolved creature has, given this baby certain characteristics like webbed hands and
Yeah.
feet, that have to be fixed post that, I do remember a scene in which Tempest hold the baby. Um, like I said, at the end of episode 8, I thought there was like a moment where, the baby was on a sling on her back. So very
Okay.
confusing as to how Tempest feels about her child now, and if she's going to be involved, if she just sort of feels like, well, somebody has to do it, you know,
Right.
now that the choice has been made for me, you
Right.
know, unclear as to her attachment. Am I looking after the baby as a mom, or am I looking after the baby as like the baby deserves to be alive? So I guess I could do it because I'm, one of the older children.
Mhm.
Unclear.
I don't remember his name now, but the way I imagined that it was gonna play out then once he, like, took
Yeah.
that choice from her was that he was going to, because it was talk that he was gonna move away anyways. He was gonna
Right. He was
move
going to take care of
apart
the
from the
baby.
rest so that he would, it's like, "Fine. Like, we can't kill the only new human made here, and I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna move away, and it'll be my responsibility." But it doesn't
Yeah.
thus far, it doesn't seem like that's the case. And maybe it's just because there's too much other stuff happening at the
I
moment,
think
and like,
so.
you know,
I think the show needs they're delaying that move away because I think they need to establish, that the children's feeling that grandmother is taking over mother's place. And their
sure.
various reactions to, are we accepting of that? Are we feeling, like this is gross and icky, and we'd really want mother back? How does father feel about that? There
Hmm.
needs to be like a reaction to kind of her usurping Lamia's place in the home. And the easiest way to do that, of course, is to have the children stay together.
Yep. So we of course get to then, talking about mother, grandmother. We of course get to
Mhm.
mother not being able to destroy the serpent, instinctually not being able to kill it. So she has to go through the process of getting a sensory visor put on
Bad,
her.
bad idea. Bad idea. Second,
Well,
second this was brought up, I was like, "Girl, what you doing?"
I thought, well, what was interesting to me was like, why do we need to have a procedure for this? Can't you just take it off and put it on? Like, and then
Right.
if not the case, why is it a physical veil? It can't be a programming. It's like,
Right.
well, now we know if your emotions get out of check, it just consumes you.
Like
It
a
just
cocoon, yeah.
containment.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
crazy.
removal and reattachment felt a little silly because we didn't really see anything happen.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the
Just came
whole, like,
off
remove
and
it
went
was
on.
literally just, like, it
Yeah.
came off like a little helmet, got transferred over, got put on Mother as little helmet. There was no,
Yep.
like, plug, there was no, like, cord attachment, like, absorption, nothing.
But
That
the
felt silly.
computer like had to prepare and like, go through the process. It like, I forget what it said, but
I
it
know.
had to. So it was so at first I'm like, this seems weird, but to me it clicked then when you
Yeah,
saw how connected and powerful this thing was.
yeah,
Obviously they should have like maybe done a little research. They don't have any data on what this thing is
right.
capable of, but I guess, being more and more human as they are,
I
they're
was just
getting a
gonna
little
say,
sloppy.
underscoring some humanity, some impulsiveness, some,
Mhm.
arrogance of, "This is gonna work out just fine."
Yep. Yep. Um, so yeah, that's pretty interesting. Very cool scene, destroying the serpent. Very
Mhm.
sad though too, I think, you
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah, it seemed very final, and then just kidding. It was not final at all for the serpent
well, for the tree.
or the serpent tree. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe the serpent is alive in the tree now,
Yeah, well,
you
it's,
know? It could be a
it's a
very
serpent.
cyclical process, maybe
Yeah.
that. So that was kind of one of my questions, like, is the tree still Sue? Is it the serpent's tree? Is it just a nothing tree? Like, is anybody in there? Um, yeah, kind of
I
unclear as to whether or not, this is a thing now, an
I
alive
feel
thing.
like the tree has to be the combination of the energy of Sue and the serpent, and that's how we're getting crazy Marcus at
And
the end.
but like, is anybody in there? You know how like
Well, like, I
mother
don't think
approaches the tree
consciously.
initially and
Right.
touches it and is like, "Oh, Sue," like she just like knows, she
Yeah.
like feels it.
Mhm.
Like if mother were to get out of her cocoon hypothetically and come up to the tree now, would she feel Sue? Would she feel the serpent? Would she feel some combination of the two? You know what I mean? Or is it just now
Yeah.
like we've combined to be like super tree and there's not really an individual us that's recognizable in it?
Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be this amalgamation of Marcus, Sue, and the serpent, and it's gonna recognize Mother as
Mhm.
Mother in the vessel of Marcus.
That would be
I don't know.
crazy.
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there has to be
This is
there has
all
to be
like
some
total speculation.
significance to the way that Marcus was hung upside down on the tree and then rises into the air in the exact opposite way that Mother does. This like reverse crucifixion pose. There has to be something there. Obviously, you know,
Sure.
it's the big season cliffhanger of what exactly is happening. Is Marcus dead? Is Marcus alive? Why is he suddenly rising into the air? Um, you know, in this upside down cross pose. But
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like the entity realizes that crap. The old android is back.
Hmm.
Now, my creature that was meant to extinguish the humans on the planet has been wiped out. But don't worry because it will sprout, my its energy again, but we need a vessel for said energy. Well, why not my
Hmm.
servant up till late, Marcus?
Marcus. Hmm.
So you commune with someone else that's gotten outside of the tropical zone or something like that to infect him, his old partner or
Oh,
whatever.
Lucius. Yeah. Hmm.
Lucius, yep. And tell him that you got to do all this stuff to him because this is what Soul wants. Well, that is what Soul wants. He wants a new
Yeah.
vessel for his,
Yeah.
and
The second Lucius like
done it.
hung him on the tree to be, you know, to like wait for him to die, I was like, okay, there's something going on here
Because
because,
it's that tree. You go to that tree.
right? And you hang him upside down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're really
Yeah.
mad, just freaking kill him, you know?
Well, he's supposed to be tortured,
It's,
but even then, was that what
but,
you think? And why would you buy the helmet? Oh, his face
right,
is buy it. Well, steal it. Why would you
right,
have to have your face covered? You could just
right.
wrap it in something. It's very
Exactly.
specific.
Yep.
So yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. It was definitely like, oh my God, this is unfolding like every supervillain plan ever where they're like, I will wait for you to die. And you're like, okay, well, that's not going to happen the way you think it's going to
Hmm.
happen.
Austin Powers is gonna get away because let him
No,
unguarded.
Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Um. So I definitely big question for me in this was
Mhm.
all about how is grandmother devolving people, and I was like, is it really the video games? It seems like that, right?
Yeah.
But how is that happening?
Yeah, I don't know. Clearly it's something that's pulling in at their subconscious because grandmother's like, you know, when she first introduces the game, she's like, "Oh, it's kind of old fashioned, like, you know, whatever, like you want to play
Yeah.
it." It's multiplayer and then she's like, "Look, the baby has joined." And I was like, "Okay, well the baby definitely does not have a conscious brain yet."
Right. Hmm.
So there's clearly something here that's pulling at a deeper subconscious and a more simplistic aspect to the human brain.
So we're just gonna go with video games throughout your brain.
Yeah, I was like, there's clearly going to be some sort of commentary here. You
Hmm.
know, I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, on the surface, of course, yes, it seems video games rot the brain, but
Hmm.
there's got
Yeah.
to be some sort of, you know, for next season, I do feel there's some, you know, exploration of the virtual world because of course we have the game that grandmother's developed that everybody is seemingly going to be playing, but then also she's stuck mother in a virtual reality of which we're not
Yeah.
entirely sure of the construct yet.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I wrote down two things that's like, okay, so because I don't know where they're gonna go, what they're gonna, how they're gonna explore it.
mhm,
Is like, okay, so the dangers of like stay inside,
mhm.
be a vegetarian, play your little games, and I'll keep you safe, you stupid human. This is kind of like grandmother's shtick.
Right.
Um, or like, is there some sort of message with, you know, um, an intelligent being can't actually be happy without
Mm,
religion?
mhm.
Um, and we can't, as a logical being, we can't have religion because it's not real.
Right.
So therefore, you know, humans should, because I love the line,
Yeah.
grandmother says it's logical choice. And
Mhm,
mother says, but it's wrong.
mhm,
And so that little talk there is great because like it's like what's the purpose then? Like,
mhm.
do you have to do humans is the purpose of humans purpose, quote unquote, to be happy? Does it like is that a
At the expense of
necessity or is it
intelligence, yeah.
right? And so like father using the classic line about ignorance being bliss and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So definitely seems like that's the like you said, exploring what it means to be human and the what is the importance of intelligence, of
Mhm.
knowledge, of knowing, and how that affects happiness.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's gonna be something next season too, about, we're sort of really early introduced to potentially a rival religion coming up. When we see the little girl in the black market, or I guess the market, I don't really know that it's the black market, but
Oh
when
yeah,
she has the carving of Lamia and she says, "This is Lamia, our new god." And the merchant takes it and is like, "Yep, cool. I'll
yeah,
trade you this like figurine of Lamia the protector, um, for a winter coat for your dad or whatever." I was like, "This is
yep,
interesting. Like, how is this gonna maybe play out like in a very different exploration of the question of how much humans need religion, um,
hmm
you know, and how much we need that sort of savior figure, whether it's,
yeah,
a mythical entity, signal, something, or if it's something more concrete. And
mhm.
should Mother get out of VR, what is she going to think about this? You
Right.
know,
That
logically, she
she's
should stamp it
worshipped.
down
Right.
because, this is an atheist colony. But as she grows in her human emotions, as we see so much of in these episodes when she's watching her family, and there's jealousy and regret and rage and sadness, she cries, when she's struggling against grandmother. She screams about the unfairness of it all. Um, is she going to is some of that emotionality going to be tapped into with, like, is she going to learn of the fact that she's being worshipped, and even though it's not logical to like that, is she going to like that?
Sure. Well, and even if she doesn't, it plays into almost because the humble nature that would come inherently from that will just make your followers care about
Right.
you more.
That was
Like
more
what a thing to
devoted,
turn
yeah.
yeah. What a thing to turn away followers if you're like
Yep.
wanting the adulation and clear about it
Mhm.
versus like, no, no, no,
So
I'm not,
humble, so pious,
yeah.
yeah.
hmm And then, of course, the irony of creating the problem to which you're the solution. Now,
Right,
obviously, she didn't intentionally do
right.
this, but
She keeps trying
she
to
also,
make Campion the solution, but it doesn't seem to be working out that well.
right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting. And it also kind of goes along with like a savior figure. It makes sense. You have town, someone performs a great deed
Mhm,
in a town or village, and word spreads of this person and the description and all this stuff. And the person doesn't have to do anything ever again.
mhm,
The word of mouth, the asking for that's it will have it has a life of its own.
mhm.
That person now achieved a miracle.
Right.
And therefore we have someone to call to and to, seek help from and guidance. And even if they never show up, it doesn't matter anymore. So Mother has done this one thing, and it's got, it's shown an incredible
She's
amount
the
of
serpent
power and
slayer. Mm-hmm.
right. She can be gone for a long time, and it possibly only strengthens the effect.
Right. Strengthens the myth. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting when we come back to season 3 and we see, where are our main characters who are left?
Yeah.
Where's our
Yep.
family? Where's father? Where's grandmother? I did kind of like the very, soft but intentional rejection of grandmother's advances by father.
Yep.
I hope you don't misunderstand, mother may cause trouble, but she's my partner.
Yeah. Yep.
I did enjoy that. Because I did feel that there was kind of a moment when grandmother first emerges from behind the veil and he's
Yeah.
a little awestruck.
Right.
So I did appreciate the not just fully, oh, just kidding, you're my partner now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You don't need that betrayal too, kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where, kind of our family is, where Mother is as she's trapped in virtual reality, and where Marcus is. Is he alive? Is he dead? There was a little bit of Marcus and Mother working together for a very, very, very brief period of time.
Yep.
Now, how much of that is just totally ripped asunder as, what sides are they even on anymore?
Yep. Yeah. The one other question I have, I guess, is when Mother destroyed the serpent, and she kind of messes up the biome a little bit, and so now it's snowing and stuff like that. I thought it was interesting with the grid kind of weird pattern in the sky. Did you see that? I didn't
I did.
understand
Yeah.
what that was like, what that was about, because it doesn't seem, I mean, it can't be it's almost like there's a barrier or a force field, and then because an atmosphere wouldn't look like that. Those sort of
Right.
geometric things don't exist in nature by themselves.
So
I understand.
I sort of accepted it in the moment as whatever barrier was constructed to keep out the entity's signal.
So
But
that's suggesting something was constructed, not naturally
yes,
occurring
not naturally
from
occurring.
the. Okay.
That was the assumption that I made, but it's based on so little evidence that I would be willing to accept another explanation should one be given in season 3.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all in all, certainly if there's anything we missed or whatever, but all in all, what I know there's some characters we didn't get to and stuff, but were you satisfied with the season?
I
How it
was.
ended? How
I certainly felt that the season ended more logically than season 1 did. I think there were some big leaps that, the season 1 finale took that we all weren't quite on board with. When we had our discussion between you and I and Shane, we were like, it was a lot. There was a lot of very realistic things happening, and then suddenly there was Serpent Baby. Season 2 just starts off, Serpent Baby's already here, so, we've already established a level of, non-realism that we can continue to build on. And I think season 2 did well to not take it to another level, which I think would have been absurdist. So it balanced the line between being real, being a little bit out there, and we're approaching but not crossing the line of being absurd.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, in something that I think doesn't happen too often. I mean, in season 1, I felt a really strong connection when the show began, and the tone and everything like that. And I felt like it never kind of hit some of those highs, or it started to, as you just said, how it ended and threw a lot out there that didn't
Mhm.
make sense and all that stuff. I think this season was really strong. I thought it was
Mhm.
a good length. There was always something happening from each
Mhm.
episode to the next. I thought that there was a lot less hurdles to leap, but they kept us guessing on characters and who was going to
Mhm.
do what.
Yes.
Sue seeing things, becoming a tree, did not expect so many of these things. Side characters that were interesting, like the servant of the kind of right hand man
Mhm.
for the trust.
Mhm.
Um, that was, a lot
The
of
trust
so
even.
yeah, you're right. Even the trust and the way that colony, the atheist colony, worked.
Mhm.
Um, they kept me guessing. They kept me surprised. They kept the pace going. They kept the drama up, and I really don't have a lot of complaints. I think the only they had some really amazing moments too. Like when
Mhm.
Mother is going to go and take over the trust,
Mhm.
spectacular. It's definitely a highlight of the season for
Yeah.
me. Um, you know, it's just the way the eyes affected Marcus and what that did for his little following.
Rill's
Like,
revenge.
yeah, I just a lot of stuff that I think was really good. I couple complaints
Yeah.
without the bonus content. I would have had no idea until these later episodes that like the creature that Marcus discovered in the cave and such was like all of a sudden kind of turned
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
nanobots
Mhm.
back into, and that these other creatures were devolved humans.
Yes.
Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have understood that until
Mhm.
later. And even
Yep.
then, the nanobots thing, I wouldn't have understood at all. And then Tempest and her baby,
Mhm.
just like kind of things you expressed, of like maybe not understand, like them having a goal in mind and not knowing how to get there exactly, with
Right.
still covering the things we want, explaining things about the sea creatures that we want, and like maybe that's a little contrived.
Mhm.
So, but other than that, man, I I'm excited for season 3.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm excited for season 3. I'm excited for, I think the show has set up some really great forward journeys for our characters. I think we've, been introduced to, I don't know, grandmother is a villain, but she's certainly an antagonist, or a
Mhm.
rival or a foil for mother. Um, and it'd be interesting to learn more about her and her goals and how she's going to set about achieving them, because I can't believe that we're just going to jump into a season 3 where everybody's been playing this game and they're just suddenly like the sea creatures too. So we're,
Right.
we're gonna have to go on some kind of journey to get there, and I think it's going to be very interesting.